Desi communities, we are racist to our own people because we glorify the white skin. We glorify being fair and being bright. Even though majority of us are brown, it's a part of our ethnicity, it's a part of our identity. All of the advertisements promote the idea that to be happy, to be beautiful, you need to be white. This racist ideology is like engraved in the Desi community.
South Asian culture. We love whiteness, and I mean both in terms of the skin, but also in terms of our internalization of white supremacy and racism. We have internalized racism, and we have come to believe that whiteness is better than brownness. And it shows up in things like colorism, where we tell our children to not sit in the sun, to use skin bleaching cream products, and more. This is a manifestation of white supremacy. It's a manifestation of racism, and we have come to believe this. And I'm so done with the colorism in our community, in our culture. So after today, I would love for you to join me in calling out colorism. When you hear comments being made in our culture around how fair is beauty, I want you to call it out. And instead, what we really should be doing is cultivating self-love. We want to be in a place where we embrace how beautiful we are, the melanin in our skin, our brownness.
It's not just South Asian representation. It's specifically South Indian representation.
Yeah. And it's such a pleasure, and for both of us also to be dark-skinned, knowing how hard it is for dark-skinned women in India, even in the diaspora of Indian communities in the West. It's incredibly difficult even to this day. And what I love about the show is that the fact that we're dark-skinned, it's not mentioned.
Happy summer. I cannot believe that I still need to talk to some of y'all about this. Do not tell your brown children to stay out of the sun this summer. Do not offer skin lightening agents to counteract the effect of the sun on your brown children's skin. Do not slather your children in sunscreen with the intent of keeping them light, but rather with the intent of protecting them from skin cancer. Our skin is the imprint of our heritage, of our ancestors, and you will not be making children, literal children, think about how their skin is less desirable than white skin. Let your kids play in the goddamn sun this summer.
Bad. After looking at you as a fair woman, Beyonce would feel inferior. Just a friendly reminder, Beyonce's black. Y'all will continue to say colorism in India does not exist when Indian women can't even turn on the TV. Imagine being an Indian woman, turning on the TV, Beyonce, and then imagine going to the drugstore after and seeing Fair and Lovely bleaching products literally everywhere. Going to like an auntie and uncle's house and then the auntie's like, oh, you got so dark. There is no escaping colorism and the Eurocentrism that was implemented by colonizers. And the fact that this video can exist in 2020 and the production company actors didn't say anything about it is unbelievably problematic and embarrassing. Imagine having colorism in 2020. What the heck?
As a Bengali American who grew up with mainly the Indian community, let me tell you something about the Indian community that I personally cannot get behind as a Bengali, and it sent me for a loop. The North versus South Indian divide. I've never heard an argument from a North Indian that isn't completely colorist or classist as to why North Indian people are better or why North India is better. The argument I hear from most people is that North Indians are quote unquote more attractive because they're more fair skinned, and a lot of North Indians think that they are related to the Aryan race, when it's been proven time and time again by anthropologists and geneticists that all of India is one of the most genetically mixed populations in the world between Aryans and Dravidians. And just a simple reminder, especially if you're in the Indian diaspora, that caste doesn't exist in America. But also your skin color does not make you more attractive than someone else or lesser than someone else. And I felt like I had to address that.
Those who are not knowledgeable about India, and India is one of those countries in South Asia where colorism is so strong, racial profiling is so strong, where you have a caste system where you have whites and black Indians not mixing together. India is that kind of place where adverts are put up that gives you an impression to the world and to the external community that all Indians are white, and that white is beautiful, white is superior, where they play down on their black population, which many people do not know about. If you are coming across my YouTube channel, you are welcome to my YouTube channel. Please hit the notification button, hit the subscription button so that when we bring up new updates, you'll be the first to be notified. All credit to the original content creators. We'll be sharing videos and we'll tell you why black Indians are even preferring to marry black, black Americans, black people, because in their own very country they are not appreciated, they are not valued, and they are not celebrated. And so we're looking at that. So hang in there, let's go into and watch more videos.
Colorists without saying they're colorists.
So when I was like 6 or 7, I was in first grade at the time. I was a part of like a Bollywood dance group, and I went over to one of the girls' houses because they were having practice there, and her whole family like basically wouldn't acknowledge me, and they would only serve me food on a metal tray, and they wouldn't let their kids touch that metal tray. And it's all because of obviously the caste system, and I was much darker than their children. So then obviously when my white mom came to come get me, they were shook because they treated me so badly, and it went down. When I tell you all it went down, it went down. We never went back there again. No more dance group for me. Over. And as a 7-year-old, I didn't understand what was going on, but now as an adult, I do, and it's triggering.
Because everyone watches Bollywood. Also, I specifically said South Asian, not South Indian. Bollywood, so far, has only been having actors that look white, which is very problematic because Bollywood is so popular. Not only do South Asians watch it, a lot of people from different countries watch Bollywood movies. And the representation in those movies is so problematic because there are people in my comment section who are foreigners, non-South Asians, who tell me that they did not know that Indians like me existed, meaning Indians of my skin tone or darker than me existed. Only after we started putting ourselves on the internet did they think, oh wow, there are brown and dark skinned Indians, South Asians. Why is it not there in Bollywood movies? There is colorism everywhere. But the reason why I hold Bollywood to such a high standard and I talk about them and I attack them on my page is because how popular they are, how much power they hold. Because people watch Bollywood movies and make their assumptions about us. By us, I mean the rest of South Asia, the rest of India, and they think that we look like those people, those actors, those white-looking actors, and they think that that's what South Asians look like. Nope. South Asia is very, very diverse. India is very diverse, but we don't have any representation. In my own country, I don't have representation. And Hollywood is doing a much better job at that. Which I think, like, that's weird to me.
I'm probably going to get a lot of backlash for saying this, but I'm going to say it anyway because it's been bothering me. Recently, I've seen a lot of videos on TikTok and Instagram. South Asians asking the British Empire to return the Kohinoor diamond back to India after the Queen passed away. Sari blouses apparently not being a thing, and that they were introduced by the British Empire to cover a woman's modesty. You know, we're pointing fingers at the British Empire for all these things, and yet they left 75 years ago, and we're still holding on to one of the biggest legacies they've left behind: fair skin privilege and colorism. Okay, so I know that colorism did exist in South Asia before they arrived, but let's be very honest, their arrival exacerbated the problem, right? And we're still holding on to that. In fact, it's thriving. Colorism is thriving in India. We're holding on to that. We're holding on to internalized racism. I think it's high time we start looking within and fix those problems first.
So do my Indian parents finally accept my half-black children? Let's get into it. So last I left off, I haven't spoken to my dad in over a decade. I think the last time I spoke to him was in 2013. I don't need him in my kids' lives. He disowned me a long time ago, or I felt he disowned me, even though I felt like he wanted to communicate with me, but he didn't want to own up to the fact that he has half black grandchildren. He would tell people I'm off somewhere studying. The kids didn't exist. There was no pictures of me in this house. There's no pictures of the kids in this house. Anytime I would see one of his friends, oh, how's school? Bro, I'm married. But anyways, Yeah, I don't need that in my life. You'll learn more about my upbringing with my dad and my stepmother in another video. There's a lot there. Anyway, so now let's get into my mom. I tried. Guys, I tried. And I'm like, okay, let's see if she changed. And I would use little triggers to see how she would react. There were 3 things that I'm like, wow, you can still do this to this day? So one was my 21-year-old hurt his Achilles in December. He got hurt. I told Instagram, Facebook, all of that. So my mom follows me on Facebook. So she read it. And I also told my sister, who told my mom. My mom writes me 4 days after it happened. And she was like, she wrote me on Facebook Messenger. She's like, is, Elijah okay? I was like, he's okay. He's in a lot of pain. She wrote me 2 days after that message and gave me a thumbs up emoji. A thumbs up. Okay, whatever. So I decided to visit my sister in Maryland, and because she just had a baby and I wanted to see my nieces. There's 2 of them. So I went there with my oldest daughter, who was her favorite when I was younger. She was literally like, give me her and I want to raise her again like she was her daughter, because, apparently she didn't raise me and my sister right. Yeah. Anyways, so I brought her to Maryland to see her grandmother because she also wanted to see her uncle and her aunt and all of that good stuff. And my mom, the only thing she really said to my daughter was hi. There was no conversation. There was no, oh, how's school? Or what are you doing? Are you working? There was no trying to get to know her granddaughter at all. And I'm like, that's crazy. You would think she wants to get to know her grandchild. Like, who wouldn't want to get to know your grandchild? If I had a grandchild, I want to know everything about that child. But yeah, she really wasn't trying to talk to that child. And it was very disheartening to see. Very disheartening. I'm like, wow, okay. I'm going to have to get to a part 2 because there's not enough room in this video for this. So you guys wanted my love story. Ooh, I got hair in my eye. I'm going to go ahead and give you my love story. So my husband and I met in high school. I was a sophomore. He was a senior. I was 15, he was 18. He got held back a year. That's why he was still in high school trying to earn his credits back. Now, I thought he was talking to somebody else when the school year started because there was this girl that sat in front of me, actually, and was like, he would talk to her and giggle and all that stuff. So I wasn't really paying attention to him. I actually liked this other kid that was in the class, which I had very low self-confidence, so yeah, I thought I had no chance with anybody. Turns out he wasn't talking to that person, and there was a play that we did, Rumpelstiltskin, in high school, and one day he came up behind me and put his arms around me. I was like, oh, okay. And then we kind of exchanged some notes, some letters, and I thought he was going to invite me to prom. So I went and did this whole elaborate scheme with my aunt on being able to go to prom. Well, he ended up taking this other girl to prom, and how I found out, because I really didn't pry even after prom was done, was she gave him oatmeal raisin cookies on his birthday. He was standing by the door and he hugged her and all this other stuff. And I'm sitting here going, I thought he liked me. Well, eventually that day I ended up crying because I was like, oh my gosh, I really like him. I made a fool of myself. Like, what did I just do? His best friend saw me, because we were all friends, and told him that I was crying. And he was like, she's crying? Like, did she really like me that much? Yeah, fool, I did. Since then, I do not buy oatmeal raisin cookies, not willingly. We ended up talking and we got together. School ended shortly after that, and my dad found all those notes. He ended up sending me to India. I went with him super short notice, maybe like a day or two before he was supposed to go to India by himself. And I ended up going with him. I was supposed to be left there, of course, like the majority of Indian little girls that misbehave get sent to India. Well, I ended up coming back and I broke up with him. He was heartbroken that I broke up with him. He ended up going out with a friend of mine, and fast forward a few months, they were still together. She had moved to another state. I was listening to the song Back at One in the car, driving to school. I was like, you know, I made a really big mistake. I really still like this guy. So I went to his house and I told him I still care for him. We got back together and I ended up moving to the other side of Houston. But lucky for me, his job was literally a few blocks away from where I was living. I went to his job to hang out. I so say had a job, but it was a sales job. You don't get hourly. My parents really didn't care. One day I stayed out a little too late, and I was telling my husband, I was like, oh, it'd be horrible if my dad was parked up in the parking lot. He was parked up in the parking lot. I got out the car, I saw him, and I was like, oh my God, I cannot go home. I am not going to make it out of this one. So he was like, no, take this box and pretend like we were out selling or whatnot. I was like, you don't understand. This is not going to go well for me. Well, I got back in his car and we left. So basically I ran away from home. And I called my mom. I told her kind of the situation, or probably fibbed just a little bit. And I ended up going to Utah. So me and him were still together. We talk on the phone and whatnot. My mom was pretty cool about it. Well, I ended up convincing her to move to Houston. You know, of course, it was selfish reasons. But yeah, she moved to Houston. She still didn't like my husband. There was all kind of different drama between them. You already know. A few months later, after my mom moved to Houston, there was still a lot more drama between my mom, my dad, me, everybody. Drama, drama, drama. I actually ended up running away from home again. Moved in with my husband and his brother. So I'm 17. He was 20 at the time. I was gone from October of 2000 to April of 2001. I got a job and I guess I got caught. So one of them found me. He was like a close friend to my mom and knew me. And he was like, you gotta go home. I'm like, no, I don't wanna go home. Went to juvie for a few hours. My mom came and got me. At this time, I'm 4 months pregnant. My mom found out when I went home that night. She's like, you can't do this, have an abortion. You can't have a baby with a black man. He's gonna knock you up and leave you and go to some other girl and knock her up and leave. Yeah, you know, the stereotypical answer some of us get when we are with black guys. She told me to get an abortion. I said no. A few months later, you know, I had my son right before I turned 18, because I was hoping he would be here after I turned 18 so I could move out, but you know, didn't happen that way. So had my son, turned 18 3 weeks later, and moved out. Now we have been together for 23, 24 years and have 9 kids together. So much for knocking me up and leaving me, because it hasn't happened.
Okay, so I'm a sociology major, so I think about certain things more often than I should. One question that I've seen so often that I think about so much is why South Asians get so much hate. I think that it's fair to say that out of all non-black minorities, South Asians get like a crazy amount of hatred. I remember like watching those, you know, high school interviews and it's like, what race would you not date? It's always Indian, even though that's not really a race. But I've noticed that a lot of South Asians tend to express this like isolation as a race because they just feel so hated across the board. But I think I can pinpoint why. I think that it comes down to 2 different things. 1, skin color, and 2, just having such a tight-knit foreign culture. One thing that will separate East Asians from South Asians is that East Asians, you know, are closer to whiteness on the spectrum. I think that one similarity we can see between East Asians and South Asians is that they have very tight-knit cultures, mainly because they were able to immigrate to this country on their own. The majority of Asian people were not like forced here by slavery like black people and came to start a new life, and a lot of times had, you know, some sort of wealth. This is where we see like a similarity of hatred against Asians in general. It's just because of the fact that this tight-knit culture was able to last that immigration. Because their culture was not stripped away from them, they were able to keep it and retain it, and that just led to a lack of assimilation. Yet we still see like a stark difference in treatment between East Asians and South Asians. And I think the difference is generally just skin color. Of all non-black minorities, South Asians tend to be the darkest. And racially, I feel like this has garnered them a very, you know, interesting specific place. Like you look brown, but you're not black. So it's just like, how do I treat you? Where do I place you? And also just, again, by having that very strong cultural bond, you know, less of that assimilation there, there's more to characterize and then put into a box and hate for like the masses. I think this is why we even see other races like black people hate on South Asians too. Because African Americans were like completely stripped of their culture, they had to kind of create a new one in America. So much of black culture is pretty much intertwined with what we call American culture too. Because the black identity has basically been created here in America and is the foundation of American culture, it just feels more familiar. This is why like even black people can other South Asian people because they still feel like somewhat in some type of group here in America. Yeah, those are just like my thoughts that I have formed in my head. If anyone just like blatantly disagrees with me or has like further insight, just let me know. I just thought this would be like an interesting thing to demonstrate and talk about.
Come back, guys. All credit to the original content creator. You could see that these people do not joke with this colorism and racial profiling, and it can be so bad that your family, your immediate family, can distance you just because you are in a relationship, or you are going out with someone who does not have the same color tone as you are. And so young Indian ladies, need to marry their kind of people so that you remain in that good book of your family, and your family can go the extra mile to disassociate, excommunicate you just because you went out to marry out of your colored race stuff. And this whole thing is not just in America, it's everywhere. It's a global issue. And sometimes when you watch the football matches, they tell you kick out racism. Many times the truth remains that racism is a reality. It's on the pitch, it's off the pitch, it's on the home, it's in the groceries. Let's go into the comment section and know what your thoughts and opinions are.